I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today on the podcast, we have a special guest by the name of Matthew Peter
Pavone.
I remember his middle name.
Yeah.
Bro, we go way back.
Yeah, bro. You ain't lying. You're not lying.
Oh, way back. You know what's funny is, okay, before we go into the introduction, I had a conversation with you when, I think it's like 13 years ago, long time ago. We were talking outside of Official in the front, and it was like probably 1, 2 in the morning, right? We're brainstorming.
Good old Official days, man.
We had so many good conversations back then, but Matt opened my mind up to think big, really big. You did that to a lot of us, even Alan, right?
Yeah, me too.
When we were younger, right? But Matt told me a story about, I think it was, I think he was he a senator here? Maybe he was. Running for president back in the day. Totally forgot his name. Mitt. Yes. I don't know if we can say his full name. But anyways, that guy was running and we were talking and he was like, yeah, he's going to lose because he's not putting up his tax. He doesn't want to show his taxes. You told me this. And I was like, what's the big deal about that? And I was younger. I didn't understand that. And you were like, this guy has money all over, all over out of the country. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he started to open my eyes up to investing out of the country to, you told me, oh, the guy's worth more than millions. You know, he's worth billions. And I don't know if that's true or not. But what you told me was he didn't want to show it, right? And it made me think like, wait, you could become that wealthy? Like, oh, is that, like, that's reality? Like, and I was so young, I didn't really think like that. I didn't think big like that. But when you exposed me to that type of thinking, bro, it changed the whole course of my entrepreneurial journey. I swear it did, right? And I think you did it to a lot of people, right? But to give you a brief introduction, all the viewers and listeners listening, this is Matthew Pavone. Matt has an amazing story, right? Came from nothing, back east, Boston, Beantown, came here, killed it in real estate, just blew up, bro. You had so many houses, bro. How many houses do you have at one point?
We got up to about 30 before we crashed.
30 houses. This guy had 30 houses right here in Salt Lake. It's a big deal, right? But I want to talk to you about, you know, what got you into real estate first thing, because I know you're prospecting here and there, but that's not your full-time gig right now, right? But when there's an investment opportunity, you will jump on it. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk to you about what got you, number one, to become an entrepreneur, because you haven't worked for anybody. And we'll go into stories about that, because I got some funny-ass stories about back in the day. Yeah. we'll go into that. But what got you into it? I mean, what did it for you? Your dad wasn't an entrepreneur, right?
So, no, my dad's super conservative, very much against looking at the money as, you know, materialistic things. He's the exact opposite, actually. He's a very religious man. So when I broke away around 18 years old from back east, you know, and back east is unique because it's old money, right? So coming out west was a big deal just in that aspect. But it was when I was working at Discover Card at the time. That really got me into the credit industry initially. But reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure we've all read at some point, but that changed my perspective on the way, you know, I viewed money and really just a long-term approach of, you know, going to school and the traditional way of going to school, eventually, hopefully, you know, saving up enough money, working your way up through a corporation. And that's something that sparked in my brain as soon as I read that book. So basically, I quit my job after I read that book, refinanced out of I bought my first house at 20 years old. So that was a big deal in itself, too. I mean, this is when houses in West Valley were going for $100,000. So within a year, the big light bulb going off was that book. But I think it was the possibility that, you know, I didn't have to exchange my time for money. So at the time I was grinding it out. You know, I was in the balance transfer space at Discover Card, which was my first financial position. Thought it was a great job, and I thought, hey, I could be with this company for years. You know, so I took that first year, and I think year to date, you know, was somewhere around $35K I made that year. And at the time, you know, 20-year-old kid, you know, going to college, trying to do school and all that. I thought I was on some levels making it, you know. And then what I realized after that first year is that, you know, reading that book is I need to get into real estate. And I bought a house that second year at the job. But then by the time you know, that second year came around, I had made $50,000 off the house in just appreciation. So I refinanced, and you know, 50 grand for a 21-year-old is huge. And also, you know, at the time I found out I was pregnant, you know, I had my first son on the way too. So it was a scary time, but also like, hey, if you're going to do it, go for it. You know, 35 grand, I did like I think it was like an 80, 20 loan, whatever it was, and pulled out, I think at 35 liquid and just rolled it. Right. And then I started rolling each deal kind of built on the last. We started, using the Burr strategy. I'm familiar with the Burr strategy.
Oh, what is that? So for the people who don't know, the Burr.
Yeah.
Burr strategy. So you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear that a lot right now. This is before, right?
People are talking about it now, like it's the new acronym for the way to invest in real estate from a fix and flip standpoint. So this is back early 2000s, right? So the market was totally different back then, even though at the time it felt like a lot of money, you know, but it stands for buy, rehab, refinance, rent, and if you want to take it a step further, repeat, right? So Burr, BERRR. Okay, so that was the strategy.
That's a pretty good one. Smart. That's the title for the podcast. Right?
Right. So that was the strategy back then, and we were basically, each investment stacked on the next, right? So the initial house in West Valley, 100. Next year it's worth 150. Now I have 50 grand to play with. Invested in a house in Riverton was my next purchase. At the time, it was a little half-acre lot. It was about 6,000 square feet, unfinished basement. Picked it up on a foreclosure at like 300 grand. So so I mean, it was just build on the next. Did the same strategy, built out the basement, but now I'm in a new build. Put another 100 grand in equity into the house, refinance, pull out 100 grand. Roll it on the next one and just keep.
And did you rent that house or did you guys stay in that one? It was a big house.
It was a big one. Yeah. I mean, we could have, right? But at the time I was, I tend to bring my network in close to me. So I had my best friend living with me at the time, and he was the real estate agent and I acted as the investor. So we were putting in, long hour days. We made the office, inside the house part of our business. So, that was a tax write-off, using the house as that. But we were putting in like 20, 30 offers, blind offers in daily. We got it down so well that, we had, it would be the same search criteria daily. This is back when there actually was inventory on the market. There was foreclosures and short sales and pocket listings and things like this matter, right? So we just targeted, buy low, sell high, right? We're just a couple younger kids, fresh out of college or in that age group, and we were going for it, right? We started our business. It was called LP Capital Investments at the time. We were loving life because, at the time we felt like we were the gurus of the game, and everyone was asking us, like, how'd you do it? Because just a year prior, I was, my first job I took here in Salt Lake was Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, just to kind of take you back, make $8 an hour, I started from basically just ground zero, you know what I mean? Worked my way up and then quit the 9 to 5, went for it in real estate. And just kept using the same method over and over and over again.
So before we go forward in that story, let's talk about you, bro. Like you came here when you were what, 20, 21?
About 20 years old.
About 20 years old. So why'd you pick Utah? I mean, holy shit, bro. You're in Boston. You come to why Utah?
Yeah. So I had an older brother out here at the time going to college. So he said, "Come on out, out west." He was already here, so he was kind of gave me that initiative to come out and stay with him, and that was really basically it. And then when I had my first son, that's what kept me here. So I figured I would just be out here. I was really pursuing a baseball career. I played baseball in high school, and wanted to go to college on it. Was going to try to what they call it, red shirt or whatever, when you walk on to a baseball, because I didn't have a scholarship at the time, but I was looking to get one. So pursued the whole normal go to school like your parents say, and but quickly I figured out, like, I'm going to school, but I'm learning subjects that I'm not interested in, and it feels like another business, right? So it just wasn't the right fit for me. I've been a serial entrepreneur ever since.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And then if you guys haven't noticed, we have Alan over here on the podcast today. I'm like, what are we going to put the title in on this one? Oh, yeah, Alan's there.
I'm here.
So we got Alan here, too. So just to give you guys an idea of, how we all met. So back in the day when I used to cut hair, this is a long time ago, I met Matt through barbering. He was a client of mine. I actually met Alan through barbering as well. Really, really great. I feel like I used to always preach this back in school when I went to hair school, was I used that as a stepping stone to, network and, meet people and then you find your area that you want to pursue. And I use, barbering to do that. But we go way back, man. I remember when you and I started hanging out, it was about when the market crashed.
Yeah.
And you still had some real estate deals, but you were kind of losing, all your momentum that you had gained in your business, right?
Yep.
So what happened after that? Because when the real estate market went down, 2007, 2008, you started investing in all types of shit. I mean, you had tanning salons, and you had all types of businesses, right? I mean,
cell phone store,
smoke
shop.
Yeah.
What was the motivation behind that? Were you just thinking about trying to make a quick buck? I mean, what was the motivation?
Yeah, I mean, when you go through that era, and I look back on that, I mean, it was a big learning experience, right? I mean, it's similar to where we're at right now with real estate, where everyone's caught up in this paying over list price, right? It was the same thing going on back 08, 09. And I was in that, but I had never seen a recession, right? So that was the big difference is that experience. But during that time period, when you go have a house and you're in that ninja loan, that no doc loan, you're basically leveraging house on house. So you're using the equity to get into your next deal. So when you look at the prices of property back then, overnight they were cut in half. So, I was paying, I think at the time, our overhead was like 50, 60 grand a month just to keep the payments afloat, right? Just for each property. So you got to think how long can you keep doing that before you're going to run out of money, right? So if you don't have another deal and everything's worth half, I mean, you kind of see the writing on the wall, right? So had to go through bankruptcy, straight up. So at the time I had to make that executive decision, me and my business partner, my best friend at the time that actually I brought out from back east. We grew up, we knew each other since 5 years old. Both went through a bankruptcy, basically went down in flames. I mean, we had to let go of every property we had because it just didn't make sense. It just didn't pencil out. So at that time, you kind of got to pick yourself up, use whatever cash you have, cash reserves left over, which wasn't a lot, and you have to make that money turn because now you're no longer have credit, right? So the credit is the key there. I mean, the leveraging game is all about credit. So when you don't have credit, now you're on a cash basis. So, I had to find other ways of income.
Yeah.
So that's when you guys caught me at that time. I mean, I really was open to all ideas.
Yeah, you were. You had all types of clowns pitching you proposals and ideas.
Oh, yeah, it was a daily thing.
I was in the background like, bro, what are you doing with this guy?
Yeah.
This guy's got nothing. You're listening to this guy, right?
Yeah.
He's got no resume. You're listening to this fucking guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm coming from the financial space, right? So I'm thinking everyone has my, concerned about me at heart, but really they were looking after themselves.
Yeah.
And I just bringing the wrong people into my circle. I mean, I forget the guy that said, I think it's Pena. He says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And that's so true. You know what I mean? So if you're out there spending time with clowns, you'll be the 6th clown for sure. I mean, if there's 5 people around you on average you're spending your time with, I mean, that's basically what it turns out to be. And that's exactly what turned my life upside down at that time.
Yeah.
Right? So,
But you learned a lot about when the market did crash and you went to the bankruptcy thing. You learned a lot about the credit. And I know you had a background in Discover Financial, right? And so you understood how that worked and leveraging from real estate, obviously.
Yep.
But what got you to this point? Because right now you have a credit repair business, right?
Yep.
But you guys are doing a lot more than credit repair, and I'll let you talk about that in a second. But I learned a lot about credit from this guy.
Me too.
One day, I think I was like 23, 24, we're at my house in my basement, and I was like, he said, where's your credit at? And I was like, I don't know. I use cash for everything, right? I was a barber. I was making good money. Cash is paying everything for cash. And you're like, let's take a look at it. How do you look at it? And you showed me. I think we got on we went to every credit bureau's website. We went to Experian, TransUnion, who's the other one? Equifax. Yep. We pulled them all up, all the reports, and my credit score was low. It was like 540 or some shit. And I'm like, what? How could it be that low?
Yeah.
And he sat there with me and he explained how it works. We went and disputed all these things, right? And a month later, my credit scores, all 3, jumped 100 points. 100 points. And I was like,
1 month.
What? I'm like, what? I started getting credit card. Hey, you're approved in the mail, a ton of them, right? And I'm like, okay, so I need to start focusing on credit. But Matt he wasn't doing credit repair back then, but he had such an extensive knowledge on credit repair. It was insane.
Yep.
And I'm like, you don't hear this from people, lenders we worked with in the past, Alan and I, we talked to him about some of our clients who need credit repair. And we talked to them about, hey, what can they do for this? And even the lenders have no idea.
Yep.
And I'm like, you think that they would be the ones to understand how to get this guy from this point to this point.
Right.
And a lot of them don't. And so I'm like, man, and I know there's credit repair companies out there, but they're nightmares. And
Right.
I've heard situations where they take money over and over and over for months on end and nothing gets done.
Correct.
Then they're impossible to reach.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, I always thought of Matt as that guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, if Matt just focused on this, I know damn well he could really change some people's lives. Because like I said, you're not just offering credit repair. You guys are offering financial education.
Right.
You guys are teaching everything that you've learned, and you've learned a lot. You've been a millionaire multiple times.
Yep.
Right. So talk to me about what you're doing now and how you're helping people in that situation. Because Alan and I are definitely going to be sending you our people.
Yep.
And the reason why I wanted to do this was to, you know, shine some light on that situation, especially right now where buyers and borrowers are not in the best situation, or they could be right there on the cusp of being able to get approved for a property and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and they might just be one phone call away. I'm not trying to turn this into an advertisement, but what I'm saying is true, right? Because I was in that position. So because you went through the bullshit in 2008, right? And you learned about what to do, what not to do, and how to repair and fix your credit and put yourself in a better position to leverage. Is that kind of what got you to that point? Is that how you learned? I mean, through your own experience? I mean, you went through BK. You're one of the only guys I know that done that, and you don't even have it on your.
No, it's not there anymore.
It's not even on there. And
Yeah.
you what, in 2 years or something? How'd you get it off?
Yeah, I mean, you're available to get a loan after 2 years, again, but if it's still showing up on your credit, right? I mean, would you loan money to someone that had a BK on their credit, right? Let's be honest here, right? So what's great about credit repair in that industry is it allows me to speak to individuals from all industries, all verticals, right? So credit's going to come up more and more, and it has come up more and more since originally I got involved in it back in the early 2000s. So my education, knowing that, has only grown over time, and now with the power of social media, I mean, it's you can see where it can empower people to really change their perspective, similar to I had that experience back in Rich Dad Poor Dad. So the name of our company is called Leverage Financial Group. Our company is we're in the emerging markets right now. We have a hedge fund we run in the crypto space for investors. But part of our hedge fund also involves commercial real estate. We see a huge opportunity in that. But where we target our customers are people that are looking to get into homes, specifically residential right now, because we feel like we have the biggest impact in that. But we speak to those pain points you mentioned earlier, which is, hey, I can't get a hold of my guy. I've been making this monthly payment, nothing's fallen off. So we only take clients that we can help. We have a full litigation team behind us that will actually underwrite each file that we take on. And we take a consultative approach to people that are looking to make that change. Just similar to my situation, I was working a great job, thought I had everything together, pulled my credit, high fives, low sixes, whatever you want to call it at the time, couldn't do anything with it, right? So people don't really check their score until they need to go get a loan, right? Or get a credit card or get a car or a house or whatever it is, right? So the key is really just understanding each person's situation and customizing a tailored approach to each individual for what their needs are. And what we do is we plan and execute on people's goals and speak to their needs, because everyone has, a different idea of financial success, financial literacy. So we educate them on the best practices. We created a SOP for, for them to basically follow and roadmap their it's called Credit Street Solutions, is the name of the credit repair side of the company. So Leverage Group is a full wealth management company, but we have different divisions. Basically, that's the parent company, and these are the different divisions inside it. But we feel like targeting people that are trying to make a change initially, when they think of their biggest purchase, they're thinking of a home, right? And that usually is most people's biggest goal, is just to find that dream home, right? So if that's your goal, like, we help you on that road to success. And I try to plant the seeds of saying, hey, why buy one house when you can buy two, and look at it more from a Grant Cardone, position of saying, hey, it's about the cash flow. A house can be an asset or a liability depending on how you're looking at it, right? So, now people look at your primary residence, rent where you live, buy where you rent, right? So look at, hey, what about a fourplex? It still fits into that residential, side of things, right? So it's all about cash flow, using, technology to your advantage. Airbnb is a great strategy. I mean, you don't even have to even buy a house now. You know what I mean? You could just be cash flowing on rents and not even own the property, right? So our team is full of serial entrepreneurs as well. And it's all about creative financing. We're a lender that creates solutions rather than, hit walls if you don't fit into a box. We're the exact opposite of that. So we fit a niche for for lenders specifically that have hard files, we target home loan lenders that are, I'd say about 5 out of 10 people that are applying for home loans right now are being turned down either due to credit inaccuracies and or derogatories and high debt to income ratios. So we actually have a solution for both. Our big product that will be launching early March will be called the Home Assistance Accelerator. It allows homeowners that, or future homeowners that are looking to get a home that maybe are over leveraged on a credit card. We would offer the financing on a short-term basis to pay off their credit cards so you can move forward on the loan.
Oh wow!
So the key there is really once you go over about 30% utilization on your credit cards, your score starts to be impacted negatively, and it can drop anywhere from 100, 150 points anytime you over leverage your credit card. Right. So
that happened to me just recently, right?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and got my teeth done. I got the teeth done, right? And I paid some cash, but I borrowed money.
Yep.
And the my credit score dropped so much from this, these little cards that I use, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay. Luckily this week we paid everything off. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm waiting until it refreshes so I can see that score back up in the high 7s or low 8s. But
absolutely.
But I'm like, man, like that is so crazy because I make good money, right? My history is amazing, but I could be turned down for something as simple as having the high debt to or the high utilization.
Yep.
Right.
Correct.
And so what you're saying basically is if somebody comes and they're like, hey man, I got $40,000 in debt, but I make good money, I have a good job, I have great credit history, but my utilization is very high. What you guys are offering is some sort of a credit
short-term
line?
financing. We'll actually pay down your card.
So you'll pay down their card to help them get approved for the loan.
Correct.
Okay.
Move
That's
them through the
pretty cool.
loan process. So there's not a product on the market that even exists like this.
Wow.
So we're going to launch it nationwide soon. We're testing it out in Utah currently with a couple select exclusive lenders. So we actually back our own loans right now. We're bootstrapping it right now, the product, but we're going to put it out there nationwide here by early March. We're just going through the fine lines of the contractual side with the lawyers.
Wow.
Yeah.
This guy, you understand that? This guy is a genius.
That's literally what I'm thinking right now.
We've always known that. We've always known that, bro.
Well, I think outside the box, I mean, that's really the key, right?
Yeah.
Well, because especially lately, I feel like a lot of lenders, they have an issue with, qualifying people, whether their credit, especially with how low rates are right now. Anything you can do to get your credit up to be able to qualify for a home, it's a no-brainer decision,
right?
Or to refinance or whatever it might be,
right?
But getting creative with that financing, like you're talking about, if they can't qualify for whatever the reason may be due to their debt to income ratio, and you guys are able to offer a product where that can help them,
correct,
to be able to qualify for the next home. So I'm actually curious to know about that.
Yeah.
More about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This thing is amazing, right? Let's see what else we got here. Hold on.
Oh man.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's too much fun over here. Yeah.
All right, I'll turn it off. Dude, no, that's dope, right? Because I know a lot of people in that situation I've talked to where they're like, hey, man, I want to get approved for a house, but I got to pay down some debt first.
Right. And that's all business is, right? Solving a problem. I mean, come up with a solution where there is none, right? That's all business is. People try to overcomplicate, use fancy words. And I think once you get down to it, I mean, that's an issue in the industry because who wants to go into a loan officer's desk, bring all their tax documents, open up their life, right, just to be turned down because of something like that. So, like I said, we take an educational approach with the customers, clients. We say, hey, this is where you're at. We have a solution for you. And we think outside the box. And people have, that's who they want to deal with. That's why we've been so successful because we think creatively when it comes to financing and offer solutions where there is none, right?
Look at this. Okay, so Matt kills it.
Yep.
I swear, in everything that you do, bro, you always think outside the box and you always kill. And it's the entrepreneur in you, right? You always find a way. You always figure out whatever you got to do to make whatever you're working on work, right? This thing is working already. This guy is just killing it right now. He's got so many damn files. Just to get him on the podcast, I had to scream at this guy last night, bro. I was like screaming and selling. Get on the podcast, right? Because you're in that. I feel like you, myself, Alan, we're kind of in that age group. We're like, I think we're in our 30s now, but we're in that age group where it's like we don't really, that's not part of our routine to promote ourselves on social media constantly. And we're pushing it hard. And trust me, it's a lot of fucking work, right?
Yeah.
But we're in that age group where it's like, you see kids now and they're like 20 tweets a day plus 10 like Instagram posts and Facebook posts.
I'm happy. I'm lucky if I get one post.
I'm lucky if I get one a week. Like, I'm good with that, right?
Right.
But we're not in that. Like, we haven't really pushed that. I think it's because the way we are. Like, we haven't really grew up in that mentality, right? And you're there too. And I'm like, dude, you're doing so good. I don't think you really need to promote your social media, but we definitely need to get you on that because you're not really on that.
I'm not on
you're not on that,
actually.
right? That was one of the roadblocks he was trying to put in front of getting on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, we talked about this weeks ago. You're like, oh, let me get it set up first.
Yeah.
I call him last night. Hey, bro, tomorrow at 9 a.m., tomorrow at 10 a.m., 10:30, just be here. No, I got to do my social media first. I said, I will do it for you after. Daniel will set it up. And he's like, I need a custom suit first. I need a custom suit? I was like, no, get here. I'm going to your office to pick you up. I swear to God, you better be here.
Exactly.
Right? And now you're here. I'm telling you, bro, like, the reason why I was so excited to get you here is because of that reason. We have agents on the team who talk to people who are like, oh my gosh, everything is in place. My credit is okay, but my utilization is just a little too high. And so that what you're offering, like, you got to get that on social media so people know about that, because that's a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
Especially right now. You know what I mean? People need homes and they're not able to get it because something as stupid as a credit card that's over 30%.
Right.
So what is the strategy? Is it to pay it down completely, or is it to pay it down just under 30%?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a short-term perspective, I mean, our goal is to get them their home loan, right? So people, I mean, I say this all the time, but I mean, the whole credit repair name has a bad connotation, right? It's not sexy. Nothing sexy about it. What's sexy is going to buy that house, right? You're getting that dream home for your family. That's putting a roof over your family's head. So we put the focus on that, but in that process, we educate them on why their score is where it is. People don't do that, right? They just take their money and run a lot of times. So utilization after 30%, just getting them to understand what makes up a credit score is a big part of it, right? And that quickly turns into, hey, now there's business credit, which we could talk about as well. But basically the whole utilization thing, the whole problem like we both talked about, that's the number one and number two reason is either credit, you're getting declined because you have a low credit score, but there's also thin files. You have no depth in your credit, right? You might have a credit card, but you've had it for 2 months, right? So the whole idea behind getting a good credit score is so you can leverage that credit to get the things that you want, right? So whether it's starting a business, whether it's to invest in a home, there's so many areas where credit's going to come up, and it's so relevant nowadays that if you don't understand how credit works, you are behind. You are super behind. So this is something I learned early on by reading that book. I encourage everyone to read that book always. I mean, that was really my childhood mentor, Robert Kiyosaki, and he's still super relevant to today. I mean, he's speaking facts. You know what I mean? So if you're not listening to a mentor, I encourage everyone to go out there and read. It's going to separate you from the pack. You know what I mean? Just really understanding yourself. I mean, the best investment you can make is in yourself. I'm a big believer in self-education. So just really, if there's some subjects you want to know about, for me, that I was always interested in the financial world. If I wasn't going to make it in baseball, if I couldn't hit a ball over the fence, then I was going to make it in one other area, and that's financial literacy is where I pride myself in just trying to really just continue to educate, self-educate, so I can use that knowledge as leverage in the working world, right? So there's we get caught up in the day-to-day, but I mean, if you're going to be looking at IG or Facebook, because that tends to be where people scroll and things like that, might as well tune into people that you respect and that you feel like they're giving you knowledge that you can use on a day-to-day, right? Versus just going to school. A lot of times people go to school, and I'm not against school because I'm all about education, but if you're going to go to school, take classes that are going to be applicable to whatever your craft is. There's too many people out there that have great degrees on the wall, but they're not even using them, right?
Which is so common to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, I feel like, because we all, I feel like we were all brought up thinking college is the only way to go.
Right.
Me too.
Right.
And I got my degree and everything, but even while I was going to college, I had no idea. I was literally selling phones out of my backpack, but I was just going to college just to get that degree out of the way. And then even after I graduated, I'm like, I'm not going to do anything with it.
Right.
But you wanted to be able to finish it.
Right.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. I have a lot of friends. I'm sure we all do as well.
Yeah.
And then right now they rack up all that.
Yeah.
That
They
debt,
rack up all
student
that
debt.
debt, and then they're not able to buy a house.
Well, student debt is actually bigger than credit card debt now. So if you add up all the student debt out there, it's more than credit cards actually overlapped it as the leading debt source in the United States. And as we all know, student debt's not going anywhere. You can't BK student debt. It's going to be stick with you. You know what I mean? So it's a government subsidized, you know what I mean, most of it. So you can't BK it. So you're going to have to pay it one way or another. You can keep deferring it, but it's going to ride with you.
Yeah.
You know?
So that for you is something that you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 16-year-old son. He's interested in going to school in Hawaii specifically and play baseball like his old man. And I of course encourage that. I want him to reach his goals. I mean, I don't put anything in his way. I don't want to, put him into a box as far as where he wants to gravitate towards. But I do try to educate him on why he's going to school. Like, well, just because for why, you have to ask that why question, right? Because you might be listening to your business professor talk to you about business, but go ask him how many businesses he's ran. Why are you teaching it? If you've never ran a business, do you know what goes into running a business? Business is people, understanding how people work, what gets people, motivated, what keeps them honest. It's a business culture, It's creating those company values, a value ladder, having a mission statement, those simple things, when you bring people into your company culture, understanding them. I mean, we made the statement earlier, slow to hire, quick to fire. And that's how you need to be if you're going to be in that, understand why you're hiring someone, make sure their skill sets meet the protocols, make sure their integrity is there in whatever they're doing for your company. And if they don't meet those KPIs, key performance indicators, then I would suggest firing them quickly. Why drag it out, right? So create that, transparency on the front end of your business, understand your business so no one can run your business better than you and no one's going to have more pride in your business than you. So once you step out of the limelight and start outsourcing, which is the new thing, delegation, automation is the new, what's going on in 2021, which I highly recommend to do. But do those things with the right people that understand why they're in their position. So, understanding your business. So
You got to bring in that Iron Man award. So we.
I should.
No, dude, that's fire.
Yeah.
That really is, right? I mean, just from the conversation you and I both had, this morning, and right now, it makes me think back, okay, I could have done this differently, right? With this situation, I could have done that differently. And even right now, you and I, we think still, we're like, maybe we need to get rid of this or, you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, yeah, this thing on, okay. I just feel like, you have so much knowledge and that's why I'm happy you're not cutting it just at the credit repair. I mean, talk to me about the financial literacy.
Yeah, I mean,
literacy side of it.
So like I was saying earlier, I mean, credit is where we target people because I feel like the reason why we start in the credit repair space is that sets the foundation. So I have a book that I just launched. It's called Leverage Literacy, The Foundation of Credit. And that's really just the first chapter, and it's going to be multiple courses behind that. But I feel like once you start to want to make a change, then credit's going to be one of the first things that pops up that's holding you back from whatever that next purchase is. Whether your goal is to own the Ferrari or is to own the mansion, credit's going to come into play, right? Or to leverage anything. It's just part of how people pre-qualify you. So that was the first chapter, which is our Credit Street Solution product, and that's that company. But when you graduate from that, you start looking at, hey, I want to quit my 9 to 5. I want to own my own business, right? So most business owners fail in the first year or two due to they're undercapitalized and they have lack of leadership. So just because you want to start a business doesn't mean you know how to run a business, right? So when you set up a business profile similar to a personal profile, there's certain building blocks that go behind that. Dun & Bradstreet's the main data gatherer of business data. They've been around for about 100 years. Now Experian and Equifax are also starting to do a business profile. But there's actually a way to separate your profiles where you have also a personal profile, which everyone knows about, but also a business profile. And how that correlates is it's created through a Paydex score, which is generated through Dun & Bradstreet. So every business gets assigned a Paydex score, assuming that they can have at least 3 net 30s reporting to Dun & Bradstreet, okay? So just like a credit score is attached to your social, a business EIN is that's looked at. So you can actually build similar to a social, but an EIN stands for Employee Identification Number, but it's how a business is recognized, how it's taxed through the government. Okay, so when you go to set up a business, you're going to have to set up an LLC or S corporation, and speak to your tax attorney about that. But the point is, there's rights that you have. You're basically creating another human. If you want to, it's like you can't buy a social, but you can buy a business social with an EIN through our other business division, which is called Entity Street. So that's our merger and acquisition side of the business, where we acquire businesses for lending. We target clients or profiles that have lending attached to their business. So just like you can buy, a business that has at least 3 years in history is what we target, because as we all know, after about 2 years, banks will actually start lending to you. So you need about 2 years in the game before a bank will even talk to you. So we target businesses that are at least 3 years old or older and that are expired. So if you're a business owner at some point, you're going to fail probably 10 times along the way. And what is that? Where's all that data go? Where's that business go? Think about your hair business. You probably started an LLC at the time, but you racked up 2-3 years. So a business owner, that's starting fresh versus starting for 3 years is viewed totally different in the eyes of lending. So we target those entities. We buy them on a merger and acquisition through what we call a stock sale. The difference between a stock sale and an asset sale, most people, when they view businesses, they're looking at the profit and loss and what assets come with the business, and that's how they evaluate the business through a market valuation through a business broker, similar to a real estate agent, but a business broker selling business. Yeah. We take a total different approach. This is, again, a revolutionized product because it's called a stock purchase. So we buy the stock of the business. So we actually buy all assets and liabilities with the business. But the benefit of that, if you do your due diligence, is you can actually buy the company's history that comes along with it.
And that's where you guys...
That's where we target those businesses that are at least 3 years or older. So an entrepreneur, for example, if you're an entrepreneur sitting in the seed and you're looking at, I want to start a business, well, you can start a fresh one, but you're going to be waiting 3 years before a bank will give you any money, right? So versus buying a business through Entity Street, you can actually get lending the first day you're in business.
That's smart.
I never knew about that.
Oh, my God. That is so, again, thinking differently. Mm-hmm. So do you guys have any right now that I could pick up? Because I might want to look at some.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk after the podcast. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, let's talk about it. Because Alan and I, we want to start, getting some business loans, or credit lines through the business,
right?
To help us push this thing a lot further,
right?
So we can definitely talk about doing something.
Yeah, it's creative financing, lending solutions. The reason why it's useful to guys like you is you can get a business from day one and go out there and go to any bank basically and show them that you're profitable day one, and the bank will base their decision on that first indicator is that 3 year mark. Really, 2 years is good, but you really want to be at 3. So wow. Day one, and like I said, it's done in a tiering system to kind of give you an idea. Tier 1 is like your net 30s companies like Quill. What's the other big one? I'm forgetting right now. Anyways, there's a couple of them. They're basically.
I found it. I was like, I hope that's the right button.
But they're net 30 companies that are set up where they give you their product on a net 30 term. You got to pay them back in 30 days. So you build up your initial credit through that. From there, it graduates to Tier 2. And Tier 2 is where you talk about store cards, things like that nature. But you have to, but it's just like your personal credit. You have to build it, right? You have to show transactions. You have to show data points on your credit profile. And as you build your business credit profile, people will give you lending, right? And it's not just the banks. It's everyone. Credit unions, it's private lenders. They pull your business profile now to find out what your business has been doing for the last 3 years. And most business owners aren't even aware of it, that there's complete separation. And the reason why you want to build a business profile is for that non-personal guaranteed loan that we're all after. So non-personal guaranteed loans start when you start talking about a business doing at least $3 million in gross revenue a year. You have to have that minimum of 3 years in business, and you have to have a paydex score of 80 or above. So if you don't understand what goes into that, that basically means, like, for example, like when I claimed bankruptcy, it was because I had all my assets my name was personally guaranteeing all my assets, right? So if you go through the bankruptcy, it's because, you have no way out. But if you put your assets, protected with an LLC or S corp, you actually can separate your assets from your personal side. So that's key, right? Because now your assets can go out and get lending, and you don't have to write your name down that you're going to back that loan. Your business is actually operating on its own without your personal social being used. So you can just use your EIN.
Damn.
Smart.
That's smart.
So yeah, we'll talk some stuff after this. Get down to it.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
So before we go, right? What you don't have the social media set up, right?
Not yet.
What is the website right now? You have a website.
So we have a couple websites. The big product, our high ticket is going to get people to invest with us in our cryptocurrency hedge fund, because it does encompass really our core competencies as a team. Real estate being one of them. We see huge opportunities in the market. There's forbearance going on. We think towards the end of the year, things are going to you'll start to see some deals popping up. So we're really gathering cash right now for that time period. We feel like there's going to be an opportunity, so we're trying to stay as liquid as possible. But cryptocurrency is something that I think everyone needs to pay attention to right now, because that is the opportunity of our lifetime. We were too young in the internet boom. All I know about the internet boom was I was trying to chat in AOL, right? Yep. So
listen to this. Yeah. Matt and I, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Bitcoin, we were talking about in 2010. If we would have thrown
we're like, we should put 10 grand into this thing.
We would.
That's like all of our money we had left.
Yeah.
Let's put 10 grand into this thing.
Yeah, we'd be having this conversation in the Bahamas on our private jet right now. You know what I mean? Which is, we all want to be there, right?
But we missed out. Many people missed out.
Right, because they don't act. You know what I mean? You need to act. You know what I mean? I think people need to start paying attention to cryptocurrency, understanding what goes into it. And it's really, the cryptocurrency is because it's based on a technology called blockchain. So if you're not familiar with blockchain, I don't want to go into detail about it, but you need to get familiar. That's going to revolutionize the way people do business it's supposed to disrupt Google. Let's just say that. Okay, so Google, they're saying is going to come down because of blockchain, because everything is decentralized now, and people love the peer-to-peer side of it, where you don't have to use a bank, and things are getting globalized, right? People don't trust governments on a global level now. They're thinking of alternatives. It's the new digital gold. So get familiar with Bitcoin, get familiar with Ethereum. But really just understand, if you don't have a basic, knowledge, do your research. I always tell people, do your research before you make any financial decisions, so you understand what you're getting involved with prior. Do your background on subjects like that.
So have you done any transactions in some of your other businesses using cryptocurrency?
Yeah. We're currently involved in a couple projects. We're coming out with a proprietary software, which basically is if you do e-commerce, you'll know the term Jungle Scout, because it's basically a tool that's used to basically look at products from a analytical standpoint and look at the data. And that's one key aspect. Like, I've always been good in sales and marketing, but I don't really understand things from like an IT data perspective. I just tend to just jump in on things because that's just my personality, and just get in it and figure it out as I go. Which is a good attribute, but bad if you start taking losses and you over leverage yourself, right? So really understanding what goes into decision making when you're making a financial decision. As we all know, we wouldn't be on the show because if we weren't talking about social media and in general, that is the influence right now. So it's targeted around influencers. We're putting the software together to let people understand how to make better decisions when it comes to altcoins, because there's a lot of up and coming companies that are going to really revolutionize, just like Amazon wasn't anything 10, 20 years ago. And now, you see that picture of him in his, Amazon on the wall. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but, now, the guy, he just stepped down, speaking of that, just 2 days ago, right? And they're because of cryptocurrency. They're looking at, the new CEO is because of cryptocurrency. But basically, it's really just an opportunity for all of us. It's definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme. You have to understand what you're investing in. But altcoins are super volatile, right? So if you don't invest in the right companies, you could lose it as fast as you could make it. So that's why I say do your research. But this tool is gonna speak to that and be able to let people make better decisions on why invest in this altcoin versus other altcoins. And that's going to be, say, early summer this year. It's in its test stages right now, but we'll be rolling that out through our financial.
So you guys will offer that through the financial literacy.
Yeah, that's going to be for the investment side. So we take people from basically a credit, derogatory standpoint. We show them how to leverage their credit into the business side, into the business credit. If you're a business owner or entrepreneurship, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. We do weekly seminars.
You're crinkling the bottle.
Oh yeah, we do weekly seminars, kind of speaking to a lot of this stuff. But but when it comes to investing into a hedge fund, I mean, we're targeting accredited investors. Those are people that have at least a annual salary of $250,000 or more, or have a net worth of $1 million. So that's more of a Grant Cardone, because there's just too many little guys that if they lose their money, they're they didn't know what they're.
Over.
Yeah, it's like I don't need that backlash from people. So you have to really. That's why I say understand what you're getting involved with. Have that liquidity. Be willing to put it in. Be willing to hold. Because these things can go up, but as fast as they go up, they can go down. So knowing when to buy, when not to buy. It's not a day trading thing. It's and we take a lot of the guesswork out of it. So rather than you following the markets and trying to reinvent it and trying to be the next Forex trader, we say, hey, invest in our hedge fund, because it is hedged with real estate as a big one. But the crypto space is unless you understand it, you could lose it as fast as you gain it. So
Alan's been investing in crypto lately, right? You've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Going back to what you mentioned, if people are going to invest, whether it's stocks or crypto or anything, only invest money that you are 100% okay with losing.
Correct.
And that's the mistake that I feel like a lot of people will make.
Great point.
They either get loans or whatever it might be to catch that ride.
Right.
Hey, Ethereum's going up or Bitcoin's going up. I want to get on the bandwagon.
Right.
And next thing you know, you drop $100,000 right there, and it takes a dip.
Right.
And next thing you know, you're out 20, 30 grand. You're
right.
like, oh shit, what do I do? But yeah, going back to it, only invest money that you are 100% okay with losing. Me too. Like, I'm in, multiple altcoins. I have quite a bit in Ethereum, but I do a lot in stocks as well. Mm-hmm. But even if the market were to tank tomorrow at 2-0, I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like people need to definitely realize that.
Yeah. I think Alan would do good as a day trader. Maybe because he doesn't. Maybe because
I'm not gonna lie to you. I love day trading.
Maybe because he doesn't celebrate his losses. But when he comes into the office,
those
he's
wins,
like,
he's telling everybody
I made $10,000 today.
Yeah,
it's since 8:00. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so much movement there. I mean, there's some great ways to make money.
Yeah, and he's always ahead of it. So I don't know, like what you're studying or what you're doing, but this guy's like, oh, this company, I've never heard of that company. Where'd you find out? And
right.
Well, I have my little routine. I wake up in the morning and then I do my research.
Yeah.
Before the market opens up, and I'm like, all right, which ones have the best chance of going up based on all the information I was able to gather.
Yeah.
And then typically I'll take about 30-40 minutes before having my breakfast, buy a few, sell a few, either maybe write it out. But I love to day trade, but I'll typically knock it out in the morning before I come to work.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a distraction. But like yesterday, for example, I told him I'm barely learning how to do options now.
Yeah.
And I was just trying it out the other day, and I hit a home run. Yesterday?
Yeah. How much you make?
13.5.
13,500.
I mean, being done on a daily basis. Yeah. I mean, you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you do your research on each company and try to do the background before you. I mean, you don't want the FOMO. Have you ever heard of the FOMO? Fear of missing out.
Missing out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, people invest on a couple reasons, but I think fear or greed is the two number one and number two reasons. I mean, that's how people invest, right? So if you can stay out of that, understand why you're in the space. I mean, we're a big believer of hodl, if you've heard that expression, but it's hold for the long term, basically. And that's what we intend to do. We feel like there's an opportunity right now because of this technology that's just going to disrupt the internet. If you thought the internet boom was big, cryptocurrency is going to just make it look small pretty soon here. Everyone's going to, if you're not involved in it early on, it's all about the early adopters, right? Because once everyone's doing it, you miss that boat, right? So investors need to be aware of what's going on in that market because it is the opportunity of our lifetime.
Well, just to give you an idea, too, I went to Cancun, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, and I was actually trading a few stocks while I'm over there on the beach. And I picked up some Ethereum at like 800 a share, I think, roughly.
That's 17 something.
Now it's 17 today when I checked.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a month ago?
That growth.
You could have doubled up.
Yeah.
You put in $100,000, you could have got two,
Correct.
etc.
Where you don't see those gains in any industry. It's just insane growth. So I mean, real estate's one of those things. I mean, I'm a huge believer in real estate because of the tax advantages mostly. I mean, appreciation's good, but I mean, because the market's so high, there's if you're buying now, you're probably caught up in that right now. So you're buying at the top. They don't say buy highs, buy low. It's the opposite.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So
so right now, like I said, I paid off a ton of debt.
Yeah.
Right, this week, the wife and I, and just myself. I'll be able to qualify $1 million if I wanted to. Right. I'm not going to go and buy a house at that price. Dude, the homes right now, I mean, oh my gosh. And I'm not trying to put down any of these, sellers, but I'm seeing these properties because of the lack of inventory.
Yep.
They're not even fixing up the homes. They're not even doing it the right way. They're like, why do I have to do that? These houses are going, 300,000 back in 2013. They're going for $5 right now. And it's
Crazy.
like, come on, man. So the homes I'm seeing in my price range, I'm not loving at all. And I'm like, I wouldn't feel comfortable making that purchase because right now the market's so high. So I am looking to build right now, and like I said, I'm looking at some land in Immigration Canyon. I talked to a couple agents over there. Some lots I looked at up in Big Cottonwood Canyon, Little Cottonwood Canyon as well.
Okay.
I seen something a little bit away from the city. I'm from Vegas originally, grew up in the city, grew up over here in the city, lived downtown for about 10 years. I don't want to be in the city anymore. I don't want to be in a neighborhood anymore.
Yeah.
And then seeing how people are buying right now, I feel like it's that toilet paper mentality. Like when COVID hit and everybody was like, oh my God, go and buy all the toilet paper you can. It's kind of like that with real estate. There's barely any houses now. And everyone's like, they're buying whatever they can. They're spending as much as they can.
Yeah.
And it's fucking insane.
You're missing out, right? That
You're
FOMO.
missing out.
Yeah,
It's that FOMO. And I'm like, I'm not going to participate in that bullshit.
Right.
So I'm definitely going to be building, this year. We're going to lock up some land. I have a couple agents who are working with me who focus on that. I'm trying to get some stuff that is raw land right now that I can, turn into something that can be developed like a home site.
Yeah.
I have somebody working for me right now looking at getting some utilities hooked up to a piece of land up in Immigration Canyon.
Yep.
So hopefully that works out in the next couple months because I'm looking to buy it and then start building.
Yep.
But that's huge, man. Like, and I'm happy that I was able to pay that debt down, because I'm definitely going to be leveraging my credit to buy this
Well,
stuff.
I mean, Cardone talks about renting where you live, buy where you rent, right? So and that's just a new analogy he uses, but I'm a believer in it on some level. I mean, I want to own properties, but that changed my perspective on how I view real estate, really, because if it's a cash flow model now, right? Because money is so cheap to borrow, take more of a strategy of like, well, what is the property going to be cash flowing you, and what are the tax advantages that you're going to get by owning that property versus I just want to have the biggest house on the block, right? I mean, so. You have to look at the reasons why you're buying the house. Capital gains is a big one down the line. I mean, when we talk about real estate right now, for example, again, we take a creative approach to that too. I mean, we're looking at properties right now in areas called the opportunity zone. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with that term, but these are areas that are ran down in every state, every community.
These like distressed properties?
Distressed properties that are, that they're looking to rebuild the state. And the benefit of it is the tax credits. So specific, a place we're investing in right now is Columbus, Ohio. And the reason being is you actually get a 10% tax credit the same year you buy the property. You're buying undervalued properties as well. And these opportunity zones exist in every state, but Ohio specifically is the only one that gives you a tax credit the same year you buy the property. So most high net worth individuals will use that. If you make a lot of money, you're looking for write-offs, right? So it's a way to basically shelter your earnings because you get that extra 10% kickback, which is a make or break on real estate deals because the margins are so thin these days. So for investment properties, opportunity zones, I'd recommend looking into that for real estate side of things if you're looking to be a real estate investor, looking in those zones specifically.
So question, if a person wanted to go look up zones like that, where would they go or where would they start?
Yeah, how would they start?
I mean, there's a site, Ohio. I don't know off the top of my head the name of the website, but every state has its own website dedicated to the opportunity zones. But I would consult with the attorney first because it is can get sticky with the contractual side of things. Okay. But I mean, come talk to Leverage Financial Group. We have a lawyer that writes about all of those contracts for us in-house, and they only focus on opportunity zone real estate throughout the country. So you know when you go state to state, you have to have basically a lawyer that can that has his bar in that, passed in that state. But
yeah, because we talked about developing pretty soon here.
Yeah, we talked about doing it in some of the smaller towns too.
Yeah.
So I have a buddy who's doing it right now. He's out of Missouri. The dude's a insane innovator, right? And he recently got into real estate.
Yeah.
And he was telling me how his approach to real estate has been. They've been actually looking at picking up really old, either condemned or abandoned schools.
Yeah.
Like schools.
Yeah.
In small towns, and then they've been converting them into apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And he told me one that he just picked up, he's cash flowing $18,000 a month.
Yeah.
From this small town, it's affordable housing, and they've converted this elementary school into an apartment complex.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa, like innovator.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I think he's taking that same approach because they're looking. He said, I'm focusing on small towns. He said, you need to look at small towns in Utah, that have lower income, but you can take some properties like that, convert them very easily, and get some people in there, and you'll cash flow.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So super smart.
Yeah, I mean, real estate. I mean, there's opportunities. You just, like you said, people are rushing in right now, not really knowing why, because their neighbors are doing it, or they're hearing it's the new thing, because rates are all time low. But if you're looking at it from different eyes, where I have that experience background, and I've been through the recession, that's the reason why I kind of take my time when I make real estate purchases, because that is going to be one of the biggest purchases you make over your lifetime. But you're buying real estate based off the cash flow that comes out of it. You're not buying it because it has the nicest kitchen, and your wife's going to love the master bedroom, she likes the bathroom setting. You have to look at the opportunity in it. It can be a liability or an asset, and I think people just assume you buy a house, it's an asset, and it's not. I mean, if it's not producing money for you on a month to month, it's a liability. So you have to really kind of look at why you're purchasing the real estate. I mean, there's so many opportunities when you talk about creative, to add on square footage now, Airbnb options. You can buy trailer parks, rent them. I mean, there's a lot of different things when you start talking about real estate, raw land. I mean, there's and I think people just assume real estate, just think of when we find the nicest house that we like, you know what I mean? And they just think they're just going to hold it for 30 years. And most people move out within the first 5. I mean, it's just facts, you know what I mean? So you have to just look at the property as an investment and make sure it fits your lifestyle, and it's gonna you're gonna get the advantages of why you're buying it, because if you don't have a high income, there's no reason to live above your means, you know what I mean? Because that would be the only reason why I would buy a house is basically to offset my income, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I'm looking at properties from an investment standpoint. What does this cash flow me a month? I'm looking to be passive income. That's why I'm looking for it.
Yeah, you know what? I got to get me a friend at the county, Salt Lake County.
Yeah.
I want to network with some of those guys out there, some of the guys that work in zoning and planning, right?
Yeah.
And kind of talk to them, because I think it'd be a good idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See if we can kind of, I don't want to say get the inside scoop, but
Yeah.
maybe figure out how to, because the whole raw land thing, I feel like, I think people need to really start looking at that, because the demand right now for real estate is so high.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just here in Utah, it's all over the country, it's all over the world. I mean, right now I'm seeing it in London, in England, right? Where they're having an issue with housing because it's not affordable. There's not enough of it right now. Homelessness is on the rise, and when you add in things like, I mean, first of all, we all know that in the school system they don't really teach you financial literacy.
Correct.
But when you start getting older and you start learning more about that, you realize how not set up you are when you become an adult to purchase a property. And when we look at the market right now, I mean, it's so high, and like you're saying, people are not looking at real estate right now as an investment, because how can the property appreciate right now? Everyone's purchasing over the asking price.
It's crazy. I'm hearing
It's
like
insane.
35, people on one property, bidding on one property and bidding it up $50K, $100K.
$75,000 on
over list
with
price.
one of our guys.
It's insane.
$75,000.
It's insane. I mean, that's
just to get the house.
Just not a smart purchase. I don't, I mean,
just
maybe
rent.
just to
just rent.
Rent.
Just
Yeah.
rent right now.
Yeah.
Just rent right now and then wait. I mean,
I'm talking to appraisers. They can't even appraise it for that high.
Yeah.
So are they coming at?
The thing is, too, a lot of the offers that are coming in now, too, they're not doing any appraisals or anything.
Really?
What I'm noticing, too, a lot of people are coming from out of state, from around California, et cetera, and they're coming here. They have a shit ton of cash, coming to Salt Lake and buying a home for $500,000 to $1 million, like nothing, pretty much. But yeah, I'm seeing that a lot. Everybody's going a lot higher, hard earnest money, no appraisal. They'll pay the difference.
Yeah.
No inspection, no repairs or anything. So if you are a seller, I would
You're
definitely
loving life.
recommend.
Yeah, great time to sell.
Great time to sell.
Sell right
Anything
now.
you have right now,
Yeah.
sell it.
Sell
You will
it.
get a lot more than it's even worth.
Yeah, and just go rent and take that cash and
Exactly.
just sit on it until you can,
Yeah.
put it in some high yield return account. I mean,
Yeah,
do something.
there's a
with
lot of options when you
Yeah.
start looking around, know,
Yeah.
because it's that ROI that you got to look at, right? Where's your money going to work for you rather than you work for your money?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think the development thing is a big opportunity though because of that, because of that reason. And we have a buddy who's working on a massive deal that Philip Garcia.
Yep.
He's working on a massive deal right now, massive deal,
Really?
1,600 condos.
Wow.
Over the course of 5 years, we're trying to get in on it, to a certain extent as far as listing, all those condos that are going to be developed. I believe it's going to be in Mill Creek.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that more on the podcast once that project that happens.
Absolutely.
But I think that's where we should really start focusing a lot of our attention is figuring out how to either develop raw land and sell it to developers, or develop raw land and then, turn it into living or housing, because there's such a shortage right now. And I mean, you're looking at where the Salt Lake County is expanding to. I mean, out west, and nobody wanted to go out west. But
Yeah.
now it's like, dude, it's blowing up like crazy. There's so much going on out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Magna's growing, and Magna's, before when you would look at houses, 300,000 plus in Magna, they didn't exist. Now you can't even find them because
It's insane.
they passed that point already. They're in the 400s now, and it's like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then down south, you look at Santaquin and places like that where there's a lot of land being developed from builders because people are no longer able to afford houses towards Provo and Orem. They got to move further south in Utah County.
Yep.
So I just think there's so much opportunity there, in developing and building, houses
Yep.
right now, because it's such a shortage.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So I mean, talk to me about how it was back in 2008. I mean, is that what you saw? Was it just a low inventory?
Well,
And
I didn't see it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been, caught on the wrong side of that, equation. I mean, I guess the reason back in 2008, it was a different time period because that no doc loan existed. No income, no doc loans were a huge part of our success because basically, I mean, I think at the time you could do that up to about 1.25 million. And I think that's so all you had to have is basically a heartbeat, a social, and you can state whatever you want to
was
buy
this
a home.
that liar loans that you heard about? Is that kind of what they're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of straw buying going on back then. But that was just the era we were in, right? We didn't know that we weren't doing anything wrong. It was more we were just trying to, buy real estate to because we were on the investment side of it, right? But when you're on that burst strategy, it works assuming you can hold on and you have other streams of income. It's when all your eggs are in one basket and you're only doing real estate that's where the issue lies, right? Because if you're depending on that rent money and you're depending on that next big pullout of equity on the next property, well, all of a sudden everything's worth half, like you're stuck, right? You're still paying the rent, but you can't pull out any more equity, and you got your money locked up. And I was flipping at the time. I was doing development at the time. We were doing a lot split. I mean, your money is just it's out there, right? So I think we went maybe like 6 months after it was almost overnight too. It was 30 days. All of a sudden the lending guidelines just changed up. It was crazy. It happened really fast. So people don't see it coming, right? So you have to be. What's that big movie, The Big Short?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we're in that kind of time period. I don't know if it's going to be the stock market that's going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be because stocks. Same thing's going on with the stock market right now. It's just go up, or the real estate market. But I just feel like that's the time. I mean, I think Warren Buffett speaks to the best time to buy is when everyone's greedy, and then when everyone's slow to make a purchase is the best time to buy, right? So you got to understand markets and how they work, really understanding what goes into, making that investment. So yeah, I would just tell people to do their research, right? Of why they're making a certain purchase. Is this a long-term hold? Have multiple streams of income. So if one thing goes awry, south, you still have, like you said, don't lose what can't afford to lose. Put it in the pot if you're going to lose it. So it's a huge, great quote right there. But yeah, I mean, if you're all in on real estate right now, just be wary. And be able to, offset that with something. Either you have some other form of cash flow coming in because, with this forbearance and all this artificial money, I mean, they've printed more money in this last year than I think was in total for the last 100 years. So just in this last year alone with this stimulus money, they're just printing money like monopoly money. So basic economics, supply and demand, the money's being devalued, right? So if you don't trust in the dollar, you need to find other areas to bring in that money. So you might be a big real estate advocate. I am as well, but know what you're buying before you buy overpriced property. And that's why we're a big believer in the crypto. Our mindset is we really do 100% back everything we say. We invest in our digital asset fund first before we advise our clients, and we make them well aware of the risks rewards. But we're trying to take a lot of that guesswork out with our software that will help clients make better decisions in the future. But I would definitely recommend looking into digital currencies, specifically Bitcoin as a store of value.
Wow. Yeah, dude, tons of knowledge on this podcast right now. That's why I wanted to have you in here. I'm like, where are we going to go? Matt and I go way back. Do we want to talk about some of the crazy shit we did back in the day?
We can talk about that too. We can it's like, entertainment plus,
what are we going to do?
I don't know if that will take away from the, from the business side of things, but yeah.
No, but dude, we go way back, bro. And like I said, man, you've always been a big, mentor for me and a lot of other people. I mean,
yeah, I looked up to you as a young kid. I remember actually when I was maybe 20-ish, I drove your Bentley.
Oh, okay.
Your black Bentley.
Yeah.
And I felt like such a badass too. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm driving around a Bentley. I'm driving around Matt's Bentley because I used to look up to you when I was a young kid. I mean, younger. I'm maybe 7 years younger than you. And I remember watching you guys come up, always on the move, always grinding, always making big moves. And I'm like, damn, I want to be like those guys.
Yeah.
And now here we are. We're all working together now.
Yeah. Exactly.
What's funny is Matt and I were driving, and I'm like, hey, bro, this thing's got power? He's like, yeah, check it out. Floors it down a hill
to
my brother's house. And then, it's going too fast. You can't stop the damn car. We're going like 80, and we're about to make a turn in a neighborhood.
Yeah, bent the rim.
he hits the brakes. It doesn't stop in time. It just we go smashing into a curb. What do you like? Put the
I bent the rim.
Yeah, bent the rim. The axle was like smashing the tranny.
$10,000 later or something.
Damn.
Stupid. Yeah.
Everyone comes out of their houses like, this guy's just totaled the Bentley like right in front of them.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes, baby.
Yeah.
At the
Was
time,
funny.
I was a youngster in the game.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
No, we got stories, man. I'm not going to go into them though. I got a reputation.
We'll save that for the next podcast. You know what I mean? Then you can just say anything. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, but talk to me about the website. What is it? Where can people find you?
So I'd say look at entitystreet.com. That's probably where I'd find us. If you want to reach out through email, you can do m.pavone, my last name, at entitystreet.com. That's my email address. Feel free to reach me there. I'm in the process. I mean, I have a Facebook, but just barely got on there. Yeah. And then IG, I'm basically going through a rebranding stage. I hit that older mark, and call it a midlife crisis if you want, but I mean it is a rebranding. You get older, you get wiser, you get more mature, and you tend to, what you know, right? But you want to listen, right? I mean that's key right now. You get older, you'll find something out new if you let the other person talk, right? But so the older I've gotten, I've really kind of paid attention to that, and I try to really just sponge up, other people's knowledge. I've gotten older. I mean I know from my experiences, right, good or bad. But that's the best way to do business, right? Is get involved and figure it out, because there's no book you can read. There's no magical. It's hard work. That's what it comes down to success. You know what I mean? It's hard work. It's day in, day out, getting up, pushing. If you're in the gym, putting those reps in, you got to put those reps in the office too, or wherever you're doing on a day to day. It's a daily. Your reputation is in the repetition. Is your reputation. You know what I mean? So keep hitting the reps, and that will make your reputation, because people take notice of that. You might not think they do, but hard work is hard to find individuals these days that are willing to put in the work. Everyone seems to be selling that sauce of being an entrepreneur like it's fun. It's a lot harder than people think it is. It's not you quit your job and you're on the beach sipping Mai Tais and your business runs. Like, you need to be involved. Like, you need to be on a day to day, and
that's why you went to the rebranding.
The rebranding, is more like I'm realizing the power in social media, right? So how do I want people to look at me? And people view people through the eyes of a lens now, and if they call them thumb stoppers. If you're not, they're going through their feed. They're going through their feed, and they're looking for. You have 7 seconds to catch someone's attention. They say, you know what I mean. So if you can't come up with something within those first 7 seconds to make you stop, your mind is. There's so much information. We're in an information era. you're on to the next subject. You're going to get distracted. So you have to understand the power of social media. It's a great tool from a business aspect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it has so much power to basically. I mean, I'm having my son, for example. I mean, he's taking the ClickFunnels, one of those books that I was telling you about. I mean, it's a great marketing tool. Just understanding the psychology that goes into how people make decisions to buy, right? The psychology that goes into it, right? And understanding that's a great book. I'd recommend that. .com Secrets, Traffic Secrets. Russell Brunson. I mean, his story is amazing. I mean, great. You know, again, another mentor of mine that I've been following. Just understanding what goes into, you know, marketing and how to get your product out there, and reviews and creating integrity with your business. So yeah, that rebranding is huge for me right now. I'm about to drop the new IG, and we'll put out ads, and content and all that will come soon right behind it. But I'm really just taking my time to kind of launch that, to make sure that it's done correctly and it's done professionally and everything. So yeah.
Well, here's what I want to do. So I'm going to cut some clips from this because we have so many good ones, right? That I'll get to you to help you with your branding on this side of it, even though I know you don't really need it because you do so well with the ClickFunnels and you do so well that way. And you're such a great networker. I mean, you're going out to events. I saw you were in Miami, or where were you?
Yeah, I was at Miami. Another mentor, Jeff Seckinger, shout out to him. He's basically taken a influencer approach to the credit space, and now has built a great brand called 0%. I'm a big fan of him. And about leveraging that money at 0% in business credit. And basically you can buy a home or a property, no money down, with his approach. And that was something that I was doing back in early 2000, but there wasn't the Burr name. There wasn't, you know, that it wasn't as popular to do that. I mean, most people look at credit cards as debt. So it's really just kind of changing the perspective, the way entrepreneurs look at credit cards and how they can use them from an unsecured standpoint. I mean, it's the quickest way to acquire capital quickly. So if you have a good credit score, you're undercapitalized, you know, you should be looking at those, using credit as a leveraging tool to be able to buy, you know, either properties or invest in yourself, invest in your business. I mean, that's key, right? So he's built a great channel, and a big respect to him, because we went out there. Yeah, we were in Miami at a convention about 2 weeks ago, and it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. So you're good at that, and again, you've been building your business that way, and now I'm going to help you get in the front end.
Yeah.
With the social media stuff.
Content.
I'll introduce you. You already met Daniel, you know, but Daniel will help you out with the social media stuff.
Yeah. That'd be huge.
Because bro, you're like me. We're getting older, and we're not good at that, bro.
Yeah. I got 20 years of experience I could be sharing with the youngsters, you know, that are looking to get into the game and share, you know, those experiences with them. It would be a huge opportunity for them. Yeah. So, yeah, I think content that's relative to the working entrepreneur is going to be super crucial moving forward, especially where everyone's working from home. We're taking Zoom calls now. It's a normal part of life. Yep. You know, the big businesses, Microsoft, I mean, they're outsourcing it to places like Pakistan and out of the country, you know what I mean? Because you don't need those big salaries, or those have gone away. You know, there's no loyalty to, hey, stick with our company for 50 years. Like, I don't know where people bought into that 20, 30 years ago. Our parents' generation, you know, work your way up. That's gone. There's no loyalty. I mean, the loyalty is to the dollar, and, hey, how can I do this same thing that you're doing on a day-to-day for cheaper, right? So they can hire someone fresh out of school, with someone that grew up with a phone in their hands, that's technology savvy, that's just way more articulated on their business, you know, skill sets. So, you know, if they can do your job for 1/4 the cost, why would they keep you on at $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever you're at right now? It's like, you're thinking you think things are going back to normal, but they're not. I mean, this is permanent change.
This is permanent change. You know, my son, you know, he's 10 years old, and I'm getting him very familiar with the technology and software side of businesses right now. Right now he's doing music production. He's learning, you know, for me, it's like, yeah, maybe he'll do music. I'm not going to say I don't care about that. Mm-hmm. I just want him to get familiar with the software side of it. Yeah. Now he's doing Premiere Pro. He's using a lot of the Adobe products right now, so he's learning how to build content, branding.
Right.
That's something huge right now, so he's learning that right now.
Correct.
Eventually I want to have him help me, but, you know, I think by the time he's 12 and 13, he'll be taking on clients. You know, it's pretty cool. You know, at a young age to be able to do that.
How old is he now?
10.
10. Yeah,
10.
I mean, never been in a better time.
Exactly. And I sat in that class with him, you know, and the teacher, he's, you know, doing stuff, and last week I realized that I am not going to be going to the class anymore. I've actually been holding him back, because I'm like, Aurelius, how do you do this? And I'm stopping the class. Yeah. And my son is like, oh, Dad, hold on. And he's like, Command C, Command M. And I'm just like, all right, I'm done. So I went to the class this Wednesday, and I walked in the class, and they had a seat for me, you know, and they were in the studio, you know, making music, and all the kids were there. Well, they're adults. He's the only kid in there.
Okay.
And they were like, hey, grab a seat. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm crashing his style.
Yeah,
you know?
let him do his
I'm
thing.
out. I'm gonna leave. So I left, and I'm gonna let him do his thing. You know, because I feel like I'm slowing him down.
Yeah.
But these kids nowadays, man, you're right. You know, the younger kids, they can pick up the social
They're so
media
much
thing a
quicker
lot
than us.
faster than us.
Yeah.
You know, they can create content a lot faster than us, and so I'm capitalizing on his brain right now because he's got the capacity and the bandwidth, and I don't have that anymore. I'm focused on this, you know.
Right.
And you and I are the same way, and you know, we can only do so much.
Right.
With that,
Trying to
you
juggle.
know? Yeah. So well, I'll introduce you to my guy.
Yeah.
But dude, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah,
Did
dude,
you do
thank
another
you.
round or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's classic.
Beautiful. Alan, thanks for coming in, bro.
thanks, man.
I know today you're like, I don't know if you want to do it or not, but he's always busy, so I'm happy that you came in.
Yeah, I
you know?
appreciate coming.
And I hope you guys have fun this weekend, wherever the hell you guys are going.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure
All
it
right,
out.
cool. All right, thanks, guys. Tune in next week. We'll see ya.
Okay.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5